The Menominee theoretical model of sustainability is 6 dimensions. The first dimension is land and sovereignty. The second dimension is natural environment, and that includes humans. The third dimension is institutions, and that's a social aspect. The fourth dimension is technology, and technology incorporates everything from modern advances in sustained yield forest management techniques, as well as, Menominee traditional forms of technologies. The fifth dimension is economies. And that includes food sovereignty, so traditional forms of economies, as well as the modern context of economy today. And the last dimension, the sixth dimension, is the human dimension, and that's human perceptions, activities, and behaviors. And that's really that last piece on how humans are incorporated into the sustainable development model. And now all these dimensions work, against and concert against each other, and the tensions is really what creates this sustainable development model. The key piece to this model is the centerpiece, and that is known as autochthony, the Greek word for kind of a deep sense of place, right? And this autochthony, or the centerpiece that binds this model together, is the Menominee sense of place. And Menominees have existed in this space for, over thousands of years.
And they date back reliably to 30,000 years ago. So our relationship really began 30,000 years ago with the white pine.
Metakuakikia Q Kanao Takua, the forest keepers, is a more contemporary term recognizing that relationship.
There's a deep connection between our knowledge system and our language and our activities that we perform on the land, and vice versa. And so there's this term in Menominee known as Natanaway Maknuk. The general concept is that we are all related. And that includes the land, the water, the trees, and us, Menominee folks as well, human beings, right? And so this value system, this idea of all things are connected, is what guides our forest management.
The more and more I learned about their sustainability model, the more and more I became excited about the potential ways for our universities to partner and to support some of the questions that they were having about how to manage the landscape.
VIF is the Visualizing Forest Futures project. It is a collaboration between the College of Menominee Nation through the Sustainable Development Institute and Penn State.
So the question is, how do we learn to navigate across those different possible futures? What are the levers we have in our system to be able to manage towards those futures? We've actually found in our particular project that there's only a few strategies that are actually better than the status quo.
Visualizing it helps solidify it, and then also make it presentable to people who do not initially get the concept or also want to understand the concept quickly.
So we looked at a lot of trade-off analysis considering, what do we do in the face of this climate scenario?
Climate has changed over time, but not in the way that we're changing it now as a society. And so those old practices may not hold up with the way that we're forcing the climate system in the future.
The point is that we're trying to identify where those tension points are in the decision space so that we don't have separate conferences on biodiversity and separate conferences on climate. We're starting to think about these as integrated systems, and that is the approach that Indigenous people take all the time when thinking about forest stewardship. That's particularly important for the Menominee as well.
As a Menominee, my responsibility is to always have that deep respect or waipuch for a particular area. It's a great honor to be in a particular area. This maple aspen area right here has a particular rhythm of its own, ecosystem wide. So we give thanks to that area, and oftentimes as much in the language as possible.
We are trying new forms of science communication and new research using virtual reality and immersive experience to actually visualize forests of the future under climate uncertainty. Why would we use technology to help us navigate forest futures? What we really think is unique about our project is that we're using technology that allows you to be immersed in those forest futures, allows people to become more embedded in what it might look like, what it might feel like to be in those forests, and that might help people make better decisions today. You can't walk in forests of the future today, by definition. And so how do you know how it will feel? Do you know if the same resources will be there? Do you know if there'll be blueberries? Do you know if there'll be deer to hunt? Do you know how it will look, how it will feel, what species might be there?
But this way, it opened up access for a lot of different people to experience being out here in this beautiful ecosystem that we have here in Menominee.
We use those visualization to see if we can engage visualization as a technique to improve systems thinking, which is the ability to think in a systemic way. When you think about one issue, at the same time you can think about all other issues. When you think about today, you can bring future and past into consideration.
Our Menominee partners ask us really, really good questions. They push us in ways that we're not comfortable with, and I think as a result we do better science because we consider things that we wouldn't consider otherwise.
The use of the visualization tools, the development of them to help prompt decision-making or aid in that future thinking, that was important. That was a interesting part of the project, but more importantly from our perspective was a way of evaluating that technology and seeing, could it really help us in how we visualize our future forests enough to make a decision.
So that's sort of the great part of the collaborations, where we have our own backgrounds, but taking them together, it's like it becomes a bigger thing, and it's more expertise about what we're looking into.
And we're hoping through that process to make more transparent the values about those forests in its full dimensionality, so that we can better inform decision making today.